may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, guys, y'all know I always think it's important for me to go through and give y'all my accountability check. Let y'all know how I'm doing in my own leagues, because how can you ever listen to someone that you don't know if they are actually a profitable player? And yeah, you know that the majority of our audience is actually playing in leagues with me with all those Patreon leagues. So yeah, I mean, I can't really pull anything over your heads. I will also be going through and making a video just showing every single team at the very end of the season and how they did. But regardless, y'all know going into week 14, I actually had 12 out of 15 high stakes leagues, anywhere from $60 to $200 buy-ins, making the fantasy football playoffs. All these leagues were 12 to 16 team leagues, and the top 6 make the playoffs in every league. And I also had 7 teams on bye that were in the first or second spot in those respective leagues. So really, I was only playing in 5 fantasy leagues in week 14 for that first round, because we had a bye week in a significant amount of them. And here I went 4-1 in week 14. Very excited. So it looks like we are going to be going through, and we are going to have 11 teams out of the 15 leagues going on to those last 4 spots for the semifinals. So yeah, I will keep y'all updated next week. But yeah, I just want to make sure that I am completely transparent with y'all. Y'all know I was one of the only channels on YouTube, still I think the only channel on YouTube, doing such a thing, giving y'all my 2020 record as the season has gone on. But yeah, that's it. Let's get into this video, and let's talk about 5 waiver wire wide receivers that I think that we should be looking at going into week 15. And let's start it off with a wide receiver that's had a honestly pretty impressive season so far in 2020, and this is going to be Russel Gage. Okay, so with Russel Gage here, I think that we are looking at him as a wide receiver that has a very high floor, coming off a performance where he saw 5 receptions and 82 yards off of 7 targets. Now, obviously, this is not something that's going to win you your week straight out, but we understand that Russel Gage has been a very consistent producer for us in games where there has been no Julio Jones. And honestly, I mean, right now, what are the Atlanta Falcons playing for? What is the incentive for them to go out there and bring Julio Jones back into this offense, as this is a 32-year-old wide receiver dealing with injuries? I think there's a decent chance that we don't see Julio for another game. That would suck, because I have multiple playoff teams with Julio Jones on them. But I think that if we're just talking about this from an unbiased, objective perspective, here we are going to be seeing a lot of targets available in Atlanta. And here with Russel Gage, this is not the first time that he has showed us this type of production. And now, guys, I want to point out all of these players that were last-minute inactives, as this is going to be a common theme for us going forward in week 15 and week 16, as there are multiple NFL franchises that are playing for nothing, and if their stars are banged up ever so slightly, there's no reason for them to go out there and play that game. And also, we have players like Myles Gaskin getting on the COVID list a day before the game, so we really need to make sure that we have some players on our bench that are going to be able to give us a high floor, someone that we can rely on for at least 12 fantasy points every single week. And that guy is going to be a Russel Gage, not someone you're picking up to automatically put in your starting lineup, more so someone you're picking up as a last resort play in case you have a COVID situation, in case you have a last minute injury that you need to cover. Okay. Now, our next wide receiver is actually someone that I think that you could play for his ceiling as well, and this is going to be a Curtis Samuel. Okay, so yes, Samuel is coming off a very impressive performance in a game where we had no DJ Moore. I mean, getting 9 targets, that's something that if we could guarantee that every single week, that's something that we would be playing every single week. 7 receptions for a total of 90 yards if you add on his rush attempts. And here with Curtis Samuel, what I actually like is if you look at the splits in the game where Christian McCaffrey has been out, Curtis Samuel is getting used significantly in this offense, as he's a little bit more of a gadget wide receiver who is going to get those consistent looks out of the backfield. We know that Curtis Samuel was that gadget player so long ago at Ohio State, where he was part-time running back there. And I think with Samuel, this is going to be a wide receiver that if we have no Christian McCaffrey, he is going to maintain this role on this offense, even with DJ Moore coming back. And guys, like I just talked about with Julio Jones, what is the incentive for the Carolina Panthers to go out there and bring back Christian McCaffrey? I know we have the reports that CMC does want to come back, but, I mean, there's no reason for him to. He signed up to that long-term contract. The Panthers are playing for nothing. I mean, he's dealing with multiple injuries. I know Christian McCaffrey is way more of a man than I will ever be or I could ever dream to be. But if I'm CMC, I'm sitting at home watching some Netflix. Maybe I decide to go to the game. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of a stretch. It feels like it would be a long car ride. But anyway, yeah, with Christian McCaffrey, I don't know if we get him back this season. And with Curtis Samuel, I think that he would be stepping up into a role too large without Christian McCaffrey for us to overlook on the waiver wire. Okay, so our next wide receiver is someone that I am very excited about. Honestly, probably my number one wide receiver on this list. This is going to be Laviska Shenault. Okay, so yes, I know with Laviska, he did not necessarily have a fantastic performance, only coming away with 11 PPR points. But what I love to see is I love to see the target share. Guys, he got 11 targets in this offense, and we had Gardner Minshew back in this game, and I've been on record saying that Gardner Minshew is by far and away the best starting quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Y'all know I lowered down the projections of this overall offense once we got Gardner Minshew benched. And now that he is back in here, I think that we expect this team to not necessarily be the worst offense in the NFL anymore. They're still going to be one of the worst, but not the worst. And here with Laviska Shenault, if he continues to expand his role in this offense, I think that he could be a very exciting player. If y'all don't know who Laviska Shenault is, he was an alpha wide receiver coming out of Colorado in the 2020 NFL draft class. He went in the second round, and there are a lot of things to be excited about with Laviska Shenault. One, he has prototypical size to be that alpha X wide receiver, that target hog in the offense. Two, he is actually used in creative ways, at least he was at college in Colorado, where they actually used him a ton in the Wildcat, and we saw that usage for Laviska Shenault at the beginning of the 2020 season. They really haven't been using him so much as of late, but now that I think they have Gardner Minshew back in, maybe that's something that they look to go back to. And with Laviska Shenault, yes, if you look up his combine numbers, they are not necessarily inspiring, but he was dealing with a groin injury at the NFL Combine in 2020. If you look at his just on-the-field measurables for what he was able to do in next-gen stats at Colorado, one of the most athletic wide receivers in the entire NFL. I mean, people wanted to compare him to Julio Jones with his type of athleticism going into the NFL Combine. Obviously, he did not live up to that in the measurables, but that was because of the injury. I think that we are looking at Laviska Shenault as an alpha wide receiver with an elite athletic profile that was selected in the second round by the Jacksonville Jaguars, and now finally getting the opportunity to showcase his talent. Okay, now our next wide receiver is someone that I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not that excited about him, but he was our fourth best option off the waiver wire. This is going to be Emanuel Sanders. Okay, with Sanders, y'all know this has been a wide receiver that I've been telling y'all to keep on your bench every single week. And here with Emanuel Sanders, I'm viewing him in a very similar light that we are seeing a Russel Gage in, where I'm expecting Drew Brees to possibly come back into this offense in Week 15 or Week 16. I mean, the New Orleans Saints are obviously on their way to the NFL playoffs. I think their best chance at ever hoping to win a game in the NFL playoffs is going to be with Drew Brees at quarterback. And yeah, Emanuel Sanders coming off a game where he had 3 receptions, 48 yards, a touchdown, and 5 targets. Obviously not going to win your matchup straight up, but a player that we can take notice of, that if you pick him up on your bench right now, maybe going into Week 15, we have some issues on the waiver wire, then you can go and you can pick up a player like Emanuel Sanders and get that production in your starting lineup right away. All right, so now our last player that we're going to be talking about, someone that I made a significant amount of money on in DFS this week, KJ Hamler. Okay, guys, keep in mind with KJ Hamler, I have a very strong bias, as this is someone that I've targeted in Dynasty rookie drafts in 2020, as this is a second-round wide receiver out of Penn State. Yes, he is a rookie this year. And with KJ Hamler, what we are not expecting is we are not expecting volume. I mean, KJ Hamler is not going to be a wide receiver seeing 10 targets every single week, as he operates a little bit more as that downfield option. I mean, he was possibly one of the fastest wide receivers in the entire NFL draft this year. We did not get to see him test at the NFL Combine, but that was due to an injury, and he actually clocked in as one of the fastest players in college football in 2019 on a 100-yard kick return. I mean, KJ Hamler has that elite athletic profile, and he was the youngest wide receiver during the NFL draft, drafted at 20 years old. I mean, I think that he has so much potential, and now it looks like Drew Lock could be potentially taking a step up in this offense, and we're going to be seeing more production for Noah Fant, Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, and KJ Hamler. So while Tim Patrick is rostered in almost all of your leagues, I think that KJ Hamler is not someone that we should be picking up to expect to start right away. But maybe if we see another strong performance by him in week 15, and then you have some COVID issues in week 16, we can go out there and we can put him in. But like I said, guys, I mean, all of these wide receivers are going to be the very last spots on your bench. I mean, no guys that we are jumping over the moon for besides a Laviska Shenault given his talent profile. But yeah, KJ Hamler, a wide receiver that I think deserves a spot on your bench, even if you're a little bit pessimistic about his overall talent and usage. But if Noah Fant's injury is serious that he left the game with this week, I mean, maybe there are just going to be more targets to be had in that offense. All right, now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if y'all did, go down there, drop that like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. It really, really helps us out. And yeah, that's it. I'll be trying to live stream as much as I can this week. I'm going to be traveling a little bit, so it'll be hard for me. But yeah, outside of that, I hope I'll see y'all whenever we have some live streams.